Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, shloka number 11 to 15.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Ashocyananvashocastvam Prajnavadhamsha bhashase Gatasunagatasumscha Nanushocanti panditaha Natvevaham jatunasam Natvam nime janadhipaha Nachaiva na bhavishyamaha Sarve vayamatah param Dehinosmin yatha dehe Kaumaram yauvanam jara Tata dehantara praptihi Dhirastatra namuyati Matra sparshastu kaunteya Shitoshna sukha dukkadaha Agamapayino nityaha Tam stitikshasva bharata Yam hi navyathayantite Purusham purusharshabha Samadukha sukham dhiram Somrutatvaya kalpate.
Chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, it is called as the Yoga of Knowledge. Yoga of Knowledge, Sankhya Yoga. Now, if you see the first chapter, which is entitled as Arjuna Vishada Yoga, we have done the summary of chapter 1 before. So, and the first 10 shlokas of chapter 2 again, it's only mostly Arjuna talking. Sri Krishna spoke in verse number 2 and 3 of chapter 2, but that was not part of Gita that he was giving. He was only using powerful words to wake up Arjuna to the context. So if you see the background, after seeing the great grandfather and the Guru, Arjuna succumbed to his emotions and said, I will not fight. To justify his stance, he comes up with all kinds of excuses. Whatever he's heard in many different lectures or books, he brings in everything and tries to justify his stance. Deep inside, he was very confused, but he was not accepting it. He was not willing to accept that he doesn't know. He's showing as if he knows. Then, because his stress is so much and his ego was so much, he said, I will not fight. What happens when your emotions take over, you cannot think properly. When you can't think properly, you cannot act properly. You can't act. And that's what happens to Arjuna. He says, I will not fight. And he kept quiet. Only when he kept quiet, Sri Krishna can say something, being a charioteer of Arjuna and also a good friend of Arjuna. So in chapter 2, when Arjuna keeps quiet, Sri Krishna starts. He whips him up with powerful words. Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupastitam anarya jushtam ashwagyam akirtikaram Arjuna. What are you doing in a crisis moment like this, man? You should have not come to the battlefield. You came to the battlefield because we tried all the other possible ways of avoiding this war. Duryodhana would not agree. They tried Sam, Dhan, Bhed, Dand. Finally Dand, which is war. Sam, Dhan, they already tried. It was not working out. Therefore they have come to the war. So, and having come here in a crisis moment like this, instead of doing what is right, you are so confused, he whips him up. And then that shakes up Arjuna a little bit. Then he comes to the point and then he says, how can I fight against these great people? I should be worshipping them. A great grandfather who renounced the throne for which we are fighting. So I should be worshipping my great grandfather. And my guru I should be worshipping. Instead of that, we are taking up the weapons and fighting with them. That's my problem. And then he says, I don't know whether I should be fighting them or I should leave the battle. Because as a grahastha, as a man who is part of the world, he has certain obligation. He being a kshatriya, he has to fight. That is his duty. To protect righteousness. To defend his country, to protect righteousness. He has to fight. But at the same time, as a great grandson and Shishya, he doesn't know whether he should fight, kill them. If he doesn't fight, Duryodhana is not going to say, okay, chalo, theek hai, you are a good fellow, so I will not do anything to you. He is either going to kill him or he is going to send him away to the forest to, beg and live. So, which is also not correct as a grahastha. You are not supposed to depend on the world, you are supposed to contribute. See, there are 4 stages in life. Brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. Brahmacharya is student life. Grahastha is married man's life, married life. And then vanaprastha, slowly moving to a retired life. And then finally sannyas, complete retired life where you are focusing more and more on the higher aspects of life. So the Brahmacharya ashram, you are very much dependent on the world. Vanaprastha and sannyas, since you have already gone through Grahastha ashram and contributed, now in Vanaprastha and sannyas, since you are having simple living, high thoughts, your requirements are very little. For that also you are dependent on the world, you live on your pension, etc. But Grahastha ashrama cannot live depending on the world, should be contributing. So, as a Grahastha, my obligation is to contribute, not go and live on begging. And also to fight the battle. So I am confused what to do. He accepts that he is confused in verse number 7 in chapter 2. He tells Sri Krishna, Arjuna is talking to Sri Krishna and surrenders there. It's called Arjuna Sharanagati. Only there he becomes the student. He says, Karpanya dosha upahata swabhavaha prichami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha yashreyasya nishchitam bruhitanne shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. My nature is overpowered by the taint of pity. Karpanya dosha upahata swabhavaha prichami tvam. I am asking you. Dharma sammuda chetaha. My intellect is confused. Right? Muda chetaha. My buddhi is confused. Yashreyasya nishchitam bruhitanme. Shreya means good. What is good for me? Please tell me certainly, without confusing me. Nishchitam bruhitanme. Why you should tell me? Sishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. I am thy disciple. The first time Arjuna is saying, I am your disciple. I am Sishya. Right? I already told you, if you are just an inquisitive student, out of curiosity, you are asking certain questions, you will be very satisfied with the answers. Temporarily at least. Afterwards again the question may come, you may go to many people to get more and more answers. But if you are a Sishya, you are not just looking for answers, you are looking for solution. You understand? So he says, I am thy disciple. Then after that only Shri Krishna says, okay, now you have told that you are a Sishya. Now that means I am a Guru. Right? I have to now talk. Now only he gives the Gita. So actual Gita starts from verse number 11 of this chapter, which we will start today. Now every chapter, through his research, my Guru Swamiji has split that into various topics. Because the idea is to get the thought flow. You see, conversation was between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. They were not saying, okay, first chapter over, now let's do second chapter, third chapter, nothing like that. It was just a conversation. But Sage Vedavyasa, he did these topics, the chapters, isn't it? He split the conversation into various chapters. He gave it to us in 18 chapters. Similarly, our Guru Swamiji, what he's done is, he split every chapter into various topics. Because we have to get the thought flow. You understand? It's a conversation going on, there's a beautiful thought flow. You have to get the thought flow. Logical sequence is there. You need to capture it. Therefore, Swamiji has put that into various topics. Now, this chapter is split into 6 topics. Chapter 2, the Yoga of Knowledge, Sankhya Yoga, which has totally 72 slokas. This is split into 6 topics. The first topic is Arjuna's despondent condition. Verse number 1 to 10. Verse number 1 to 10, Arjuna is still continuing with his despondent condition and he surrenders to Sri Krishna. You can also call it as Arjuna Sharanagati portion. Then, from verse number 11 to 30, Sri Krishna talks about indestructibility of the embodied. Indestructibility of the embodied is discussed between 11 and 30. This is the second topic. Third topic is from 31 to 40. He talks about your duty to act. Every individual's duty is to act. As I mentioned to you in the class before, Bhagavad Gita goes on emphasizing on action. But the irony is somehow people misunderstand it as if it will take you away from action. So verse 31 to 40, the third topic is your duty to act. Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna and through Arjuna to all of us that your main duty is to plunge into action as per your dharma. If you are a student, you have certain actions to be done. If you are a married person, you have certain actions to be done. Like that, every stage, every role demands a certain duty. You must do that. You should not shy away from your duty. See, all of us will have to pay the price for both the omissions and commissions. If we do what we ought not to do, we'll have to pay for it. Right? If we don't do what we ought to do, we'll pay for it. Right? So therefore he says, you must act, your duty to act. Then, unfortunately, many of us, though we know that we have to do our duties, we give in to our desires. And then either we avoid actions or we do desire-ridden actions rather than the correct action. What is to be done, we don't do. We do desire-ridden actions. That he talks about from verse number 41 to 44. That's the fourth topic. Desire-ridden actions. Then 45 to 53, in this portion only, that famous shloka, Karmanye vadikaraste mahaleshu kadachana, very often, it is quoted in many contexts. So people are very much aware of this shloka. It is given in this portion. This portion from 45 to 53, Sri Krishna gives the topic, desireless actions lead to self-realization. How to get to the ultimate state of liberation, self-realization, moksha, is through action. Not out of inaction, but out of action. But what kind of action? Not desire-ridden action. Desireless action. What we call as karma yoga. You understand? That he talks about. Desireless actions lead to self-realization. Verse 45 to 53. Fifth topic. Then the last topic here, verse number 54 to 72, is description of an enlightened soul. Profile of a perfect human being. What is the profile of a perfect human being? Description of an enlightened soul. What you call as Stita Prajna portion. Nyaha means one who knows. Prajnaha means one who knows very well. Stita Prajna or Stira Prajna means one who knows very well, always, and lives it. It's called Sthita Prajna. So this portion from 54 to 72 is called Sthita Prajna. Because Arjuna is asking, you are talking about self-realization. What happens to a person who has reached that self? Who is that perfect person? Can you please paint the picture of a perfect person? Arjuna is asking. Then Sri Krishna gives the picture of a perfect person. This is how the chapter's thought flow proceeds. So now, Arjuna surrenders in verse number 7. Then, in 11 onwards, Sri Krishna gives the Gita. Now, if you see the entire Gita from chapter 1 till chapter 18, the first shloka in chapter 1, how does it start? It starts with the word Dharma. It starts with the word Dharma. You know, when the Gita is given, he starts with the word Dharma. Everybody has to follow their Dharma. You follow your nature, you follow your Dharma, your duty, to get back to your real Dharma, which is your original self. And how does it end? It ends with the word Mama. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhuti Dhruvo Nitir Matir Mama. That is the last shloka of the Gita. First shloka is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yutsavaha Mamaka Pandavas Shaiva Kima Kurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya, his charioteer, what is happening between my children and children of Pandu on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is called as Dharma Kshetra. So that is chapter 1, verse 1. Starts with Dharma. And chapter 18, last shloka, ends as Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha, Tatra Shri Vijayor Bhuti Dhruvo Nitir Matir Mama. Where there is Shri Krishna, where there is Arjuna. Where there is this combination, there is victory, there is success, there is peace, everything. Matir Mama. So the entire Bhagavad Gita is sandwiched between these two words. What are they? Dharma and Mama. Mama, Dharma. My nature. The essential nature of sugar is sweetness. Take away sugar, take away sweetness, there is no sugar. Isn't it? Similarly, the essential nature of bitter God is bitterness. Take away the bitterness, there is no bitter God. Similarly, the essential nature of every being is the self or divinity, Atma, the pure consciousness. That is your essential nature, my essential nature, everybody's essential nature. Realizing that is our real duty. Our real goal is realizing that. So that is what Gita emphasizes. Dharma, Mama. Mama, Dharma. So to get back to your original nature, you have to follow your nature in this world, Swadharma. And that Swadharma concept we will talk about in detail when we go to the shloka number 35 in chapter 3. So I'm not touching upon it too much. Whatever is your dharma, you keep doing that, and with no prefix, no suffix, you will get back to the self. And then when you come to verse number 11 of chapter 2, where actual Gita starts, you will find it starts with the word Ashocyan. Ashocyan, Anvashochastvam, Prajnavadamscha Bhashase, Gatasun, Agatasun, Na Anushocanti Panditaha. I will explain this shloka today, but I'm just saying, it starts with the word Ashocyan. Right? And Sri Krishna ends his philosophy in shloka number 66 of chapter 18. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja ham tva sarva papyebhyah moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. Don't worry. So this don't worry continues. He starts with saying Ashocyan Anvashochastvam. Wise people do not grieve, do not worry. And he says don't worry, and he concludes. So all of us are going through worries and anxieties in life. Gita knowledge will remove the worries and anxieties. Right? Because of the ignorance of how to handle our personality, we handle it wrongly and we get into trouble. So Gita knowledge removes that worry. how that worry is caused, what is the reason, how to eradicate that, all that he talks brilliantly in this entire portion. So all we need to do is, we need to sit and study, reflect, put it into practice and bring about the transformation in our life. Now with this background, now let's get on to sloka number 11, chapter 2.
श्रीभगवानुवाच अशोच्यानन्वशोचस्त्वं प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे गतासूनगतासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पंडिताः.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the blessed Lord said. See, it's a conversation that's happening between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. It is not written down those days, right? It was verbal communication. So when we are reading, we should know who's talking. So therefore, in the beginning it is said who is talking. So it says, Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Shri Bhagavan Vacha means the blessed Lord said. To whom? To Arjuna, who is the disciple. Shri Krishna is the Guru. It's a conversation between Guru and Sishya. The word Guru means one who dispels ignorance, one who dispels darkness. What can dispel darkness? Only light can dispel darkness. Similarly, only a person who is immersed in knowledge can dispel ignorance. Ignorance cannot be removed by any other action or people. It's only possible through knowledge. So Guru is nothing but personification of knowledge. So he says, Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the blessed Lord told to Arjuna. What did he say? Ashocyan anvashochastvam prajnavadamsha bhashase. Gatasun agatasun na anusochanti panditaha. He says, O Arjuna, you have been grieving for those who do not deserve to be grieved for. You have been grieving for those that should not be grieved for. Yet you speak words of wisdom. And you speak words of wisdom. Prajnavadamscha bhashase. Gatasu agatasu. He's talking about people who are dead and gone, and those people who are living. Those who are gone and those who are going. Those who are in the pipeline. Gatasu. Those whose breath is gone and those whose breath is going. Right? चल रहा है अभी, लेकिन एक दिन खत्म होने वाले. So the wise people grieve neither for the living nor for the dead. Gatasun agatasun na anusochanti panditaha. Panditaha means wise person. Wise people do not grieve. They don't grieve first of all, and they don't grieve to anybody. First of all, grief and wisdom doesn't go together. Right? If you are wise, there is no question of grief. If you are only knowledgeable, maybe you will be in grief. Because wisdom is digested knowledge. You understand? When you have only information and it has not been digested, you may continue being in grief. So he's telling, you are talking all kinds of words, man. I don't know from where you got it. But in your action it is not seen. See, wisdom will immediately manifest as action. If I am climbing the cliff, mountain, and I've reached the cliff, I know that I've reached the cliff. Why will I take one more step? I'm saying, yes, I have reached the cliff, but I'm about to take one more step. That means what? Am I a wise person? No, no. If I say, I know that potassium cyanide is poisonous, but I'm keeping it in a container next to the salt bottle in the kitchen. That means what? I'm not a wise person. The moment you have wisdom, it will immediately manifest as action. Wisdom and action are synonymous. Remember this. But knowledge and action, they are not synonymous. You may know, but you may not act upon it. So that's why Shri Krishna says, you're talking words of wisdom. And you are not only grieving, you are grieving for those people who do not deserve to be grieved for. It's Duryodhana and all that. They did such atrocity. They don't deserve to be grieved for. But forget that. Even good people's death, you should not be grieving for. Wise people, there is no grief for anybody's death or birth. Because they know the secret of the birth and death. They know the knowledge of life. You understand? When you know the entire picture, how the whole thing is functioning, then where is the question of grief? Only when you are ignorant, you go through grief. Because ignorance, especially in this context here, ignorance of your true nature makes you imagine that you are this limited personality. Right? And that brings about attachment. And wherever there is attachment, there will be grief. Wherever there is attachment, there will be grief. See, once a father came to know that one of his property is on fire. And he started becoming very worried, he started crying. Then the son came and told, Papa, don't worry, you have given me the power of attorney, so I sold it off. I sold it off. Immediately, the teardrops dried away. So, initially when he was told that the property is on fire, he was crying. When he was told by his son that he had sold the property away, it's not belonging to them anymore. No more tears. How come? So what is bringing you the grief? My property, my son, my daughter, my house, my city, Delhi. I get attached to Delhi capitals. Nobody may be belonging to Delhi who are playing in Delhi Capitals team. Maybe there are one or two fellows, I don't know. We have attachment now. You are from Chennai, you are attached to Chennai Super Kings in IPL. There may be nobody from Chennai playing for the team. Right? You are from Delhi, so you are attached to that particular team, Delhi Capitals. And when they win, you get excited. When they lose, you get dejected. As if you've lost. What is this? It's nothing but my that is causing the grief. So therefore, when you do not have the real knowledge about you and you have a false imagination about yourself, you bring about the attachment, and that attachment brings about the grief. So if you want to get rid of the grief, you need to get rid of the attachment. If you want to get rid of the attachment, you have to get rid of the ignorance. And the ignorance can be removed only through knowledge, digested knowledge. So that is why wise people who know the truth about the I, who is this real personality? Who am I? They know the truth. We know about everything else other than us. See, if a person is lost in the desert, when you go to this Middle East, you can go for this, what do you call that?
Desert safari.
Desert safari, correct. Thank you. So you go for the desert safari and then you come back. You eat dinner there and come back. There is an option of staying back also, I am told. Right? In case you are lost in desert, let's say, they forgot to bring you back. And you don't have your mobile phone, you don't have GPS, nothing. How will you get back? Only with the help of the sun above. Because you know the direction in which the sun is rising is east. Once that is set, this is east, then you know which is west, north, south, northeast, southeast, west, southwest, northwest, etc. So from the direction in which the sun is rising, you can find out everything else. Similarly in life, we are all lost in life without really knowing the real nature of our true self. Who am I? We are thinking, I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect, I am so and so, I am Mr. Lakshmi Narayan, I am this, I am that, I am a man, I am a woman. When you say I am a man or a woman, that's only your sex, that's not you. When you say I am Gupta, I am Saxena, etc., that is your surname, caste. That's not you. When did you become man or a woman? When did you become an engineer or a doctor? That's your profession, that's what you do. That's not you. So we have assumed a certain personality, and with that we have so many attachments, and to everything that I am attached, the moment I am attached, there is grief, whether I lose it or not, because there is a potential of losing it. Isn't it? The moment I am attached, there is a potential of losing it. And that causes agitation in me. And when I actually lose, it is terrible. Swami Ramtita says, attach you lose, detach you gain. The way to gain anything in life is to lose it, is this. Right? So, therefore, grief is a condition which is brought about by your attachment. When you do not have attachment, you will have sorrow. It's not that you will be deprived of emotions. You know, that is another question that people generally ask. Correct? We don't have grief and all that. Are you trying to tell that we should become like piece of wood? No. If you do not have emotions, you are a piece of wood. You are like a piece of wood. If you have emotions and you are victimized by emotions, then you are an animal, or like an animal. If you have emotions and you keep them under your control, then you are a human being. You understand? So Sri Krishna is only trying to say, get rid of the grief. In fact, grief comes in your way. So if you are having sorrow, the emotion is there, but it won't allow you to, it won't percolate into your life so much so that you stop working, stop functioning. But when the emotion starts percolating in your daily living, it arrests you from doing actions, which is not correct. You understand? Therefore, Sri Krishna says, this grief is not there in the wise people. They don't grieve. Because they know the true knowledge of who am I? What is my real self? Who are you? What is your real self? That knowledge they have. And they have it 24/7, 365 days. Once they got it, once they got established themselves in it, it never leaves them. It's permanent. Therefore, there is no grief. There is no attachment. When you say there is no grief, means there is no attachment. When you say there is no attachment, means there is no ignorance. You understand? That is the reason why we all suffer, he says. It's a very interesting analysis. See, first of all, when a patient goes to a doctor, after listening to all the symptoms the patient says, I'm having this problem, that problem, everything he says, after patiently listening, he clearly diagnoses as to what is the problem, what is the cause of the problem. Right? Once he knows the cause, he is very happy because he knows what kind of medicines he can prescribe. If he is not able to diagnose, then he will be worried. If he is diagnosed, he says, okay, chalo, we know how to solve it. So here also Sri Krishna has beautifully diagnosed the problem of Arjuna. What is it? Attachment. Why is it coming? Due to ignorance of your true nature. So this problem Swami Chinmandaji calls it as Arjuna disease. He's given a name for it. He calls it as Arjuna disease. And all of us suffer from that disease. And he says the medicine for it is Krishna cure. That Krishna cure is what? Knowledge of the self. So unless and until I know the East, I will be still roaming around in the desert only. How much I can walk there? I'll get tired. I'll die. This is exactly what's happening. We are so curious to know about many things, isn't it? First thing in the morning, we want to read the news. We want to know what has happened in so many people's life. Has the celebrity got married or not yet? How does it concern my life? You understand? So much we are worried. So therefore, the very beginning, this is the beauty, the great masters. He shifts, slowly tries to tell you that you are going through this problem because your attention is outward. Your attention is outward. If you want to find a solution, you got to start looking within. All of us want to solve our worry, anxiety, our issues by doing something externally, isn't it? We always say, that person is the problem. This neighbor of mine, I pray to God that they shift. They don't continue to live here. I pray to them, I pray to God that they are shifted. My wife is the problem, my husband is the problem, my children, my in-laws, my parents, politicians, easily we blame, administrators, everybody we blame, as if I am fine. You understand? In the beginning, Arjuna, when he argues in the first chapter, he tells Sri Krishna, we were about to commit sin. He is telling Sri Krishna that you are also going to commit sin. Luckily, I understood. Let us go away from here. He thinks that action of fighting against his guru, great grandfather, is wrong, is sin. And if he gets away from that, problem will be solved. That's not the real problem. If that was the real problem, Sri Krishna would have said, Chalo, let's go. See, he has put himself in such risk by accepting to be the charioteer of Arjuna. Because not as if everybody will shoot the arrows correctly. Only on Arjuna. Many of them are going to fall on Sri Krishna also. Isn't it? He put himself in so much risk for what? You understand? It was not a thoughtless action. So therefore, he understood. This fellow is thinking that the problem is outside. We all suffer from the disease. We all think the problem is elsewhere. To get convinced that the problem is within me, 50% of the battle is won the moment you are convinced. The whole thing is looking within. In the book Vedanta Treatise, there's a topic that Swamiji dedicates. And the topic is called the problem of introversion. To look within. There's a very interesting poem. I think it's by J. Gay. It's called Turkey and the Ant. There's a turkey, mother bird, followed by young ones, eating grains for the breakfast. And they are tired of eating the same grains every day. So they go into especially the mother bird goes into the garden and starts eating the black ants. And the young ones are scared because they have been eating only the grain which doesn't move. Suddenly, the mother bird is eating the black ants which are moving. So they are worried. Then the mother bird says, don't worry, eat them, they are very tasty. The poet starts by saying, Turkey, tired of common food, forsook the barn and sought the wood. Behind her ran an infant train, collecting here and there a grain. So, the turkey is encouraging the young ones to enjoy, simply go and eat all the ants. Make merry. As they are devouring the ants, the mother bird is cursing human beings. These fellows eat us on Christmas Eve. They eat turkey on Christmas Eve. Maybe 8 people can eat one turkey, I don't know. Or 8 or 6 people eat one turkey. So, what is the blemish? 8 people killing one turkey and eating for a meal in once in a year. Whereas the turkey is killing millions of ants for one breakfast. What about lunch and dinner? So, the poet says, here you remark another sin. With thy own conscience and look within. Control thy more voracious bill, nor for a breakfast nation skill. Here you remark another sin means before you talk about other people's sin. With thy own conscience and look within. Look into your own life, man. Control thy more voracious bill, tongue, nor for a breakfast nation skill. For a breakfast you are killing a nation of ants. Your crime is such a huge proportion, compared to the crime that you are talking about of a human being. It's always the case, isn't it? Small blemish in somebody else, you will see it as if it's something big. You may be having a very, very big problem within and you are not seeing it. It's easy to see outside, very difficult to see within. So that's what he's saying. Arjuna, because of your extraversion, because of your ignorance and attachment, you are going through grief. Not realizing that you are giving sermon, talking words of wisdom, trying to justify your stance. Whereas wise people, they don't grieve. For those who are gone and those who are going. In other words, birth and death are part and parcel of life. You understand? Later on he's going to say that. There's a shloka coming. Birth and death are part and parcel of life. Birth of a new condition means death of the old condition. Understand? You break one stick, say 2 sticks are born. Right? So therefore, it is part and parcel of life. What is the point in grieving over what is inevitable? What is the point in grieving over what is inevitable? There's no point sitting and grieving over what is inevitable. You understand? What is to be done in the context, you must rise and do it. Rather than sitting and worrying about what is inevitable. Therefore, he says, they do not deserve to be grieved for. See, this sloka, some people misunderstand. Okay, for some people who don't deserve to be grieved for, we should not grieve. But there are other people whose death we should be grieving for. Nobody's death deserves to be grieved for.
Very hard to accept.
In fact, some of the philosophers, they go to the extreme and say, in fact, you should celebrate. Whether you should celebrate doesn't mean you go to somebody's house where somebody is dead. You go there and you start laughing. What is this celebration? When you see, celebration is nothing but when they say celebrate, what is the celebration? You know the truth, you know the knowledge, you know that there is nothing is lost. You understand? When you actually know there is nothing is lost, why would you grieve? You will be cheerful. Only that, see, take that example of father and son. The father was worried. The son was not. The son had sold it. You understand? So, the moment you understand the big picture, there is no question of grief. That's why he says, Ashocyan anvashochastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase gata soon agata soon na anusochanti panditaha. See, breath gone. What does it say? It only says that the breath is there in the body only temporarily. It's not there permanently. Right? So if you know the secret of how the manifestation happens, the entire truth, then there is no question of grieving. So he continues explaining that in the next shloka onwards. Next shloka number 12.
न त्वेवाहं जातु नासं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम्.
Never indeed was I not. He starts off by saying, Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna here, never indeed was I not. Not only me, nor you, he says. Nor you. Not only you and me, nor these rulers of men, all these people who are assembled on the battlefield. Also, none of us will cease to be hereafter in future. He's talking about I. You know, the I in you, the I in me, the I in all of us never ceases to be. The secret of I. See, this portion is also called as Atma Anatma Viveka. Atma Anatma Viveka means what? The knowledge of the real self and the fake self or non-self. Atma Anatma Viveka. Discrimination. Discrimination between what is real, what is unreal. So he says, never indeed was I not, nor you, nor these rulers of men, none of us having been will cease to be hereafter. So what he's trying to say is, what you think about yourself as I is not the real I. You are now thinking that this body mind intellect complex is I. This is not real I. So he says every human being is made up of spirit and matter. Right? The material components are the physical body, mind, intellect. Physical body, mind and intellect put together is your material component. They are per se insentient. Per se, the body, mind, intellect are made up of gross elements and subtle elements. The elements per se, earth, water, fire, air, space, do they have sentiency? This is what the body, mind, intellect is made up of. So therefore, the body, mind, intellect do not have sentiency. But when they come in contact with the spiritual identity called the Atma or the pure consciousness or the self in English, they gain sentiency. You understand? Just like electric bulb when you buy from the shop, it doesn't have light. It doesn't give light. Nor is there light in the electricity per se. But when you connect the bulb to the electricity, then when the electricity passes through the bulb, there is light. In the bulb there is this glass portion which is equal to our gross body. There is tungsten filament like subtle body, the mind and intellect. Then the electricity, the real self that is passing through the body mind intellect complex, there is life, light. You understand? So per se, the body mind intellect has no sentiency. But when they come in contact with the pure consciousness, they gain sentiency. And the moment the body mind intellect comes in contact with the pure consciousness within, and they gain sentiency, then this false I comes. And that false I has been given different names. Lakshmi Narayan, Prachi, Zenab, Sudarshan, etc. You understand? So therefore, this I that you are imagining yourself to be is not the real I. The PMI plus pure consciousness. The real I is only the pure consciousness. That is always there. That is always there. So in the bulb, when the tungsten filament gives away, you don't see light, even if the electricity is passing through it. Isn't it? Electricity is passing, but tungsten filament has given way. So there is no light. Similarly, the pure consciousness shines through the body-mind-intellect complex. As a result, this life has come. Then you have imagined this false personality. So that real I never ceases to be. So when this body-mind-intellect complex grows, childhood, when somebody asks you, who are you? You say, I am a child. Then you say, I am a young man. I am an old man after some days. The child is different from the young man is different from the old man. They are not same. But I continues to be the same. I am a child. I am a young man. I am an old man. So the I continues to be the same. Similarly, now you are attending the class in the waking state. All of you are in the waking state, no? Right? You are awake. So in the waking state, you are Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, married, leading a nice life. In the dream, you may be imagining that you are not married, you are jobless, suffering. Right? So, the dream personality is different. Are you with me? When you are a waker, you say, I am the waker, the married person. When you are a dreamer, you say, I am the dreamer, the unmarried, poor fellow. Then when you go to deep sleep, you are neither the waker who is married, nor the dreamer who is unmarried and suffering. I am nothing, you say. Meaning there is nothing that you are aware of. That is the state of deep sleep. But yet you say, I am the waker, I am the dreamer, I am the deep sleeper. Though the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper experiences are completely different. So therefore what he is trying to say is, this I is always remaining the same. It remains the same in the past, it remains the same in the present, it will continue to remain the same in the future. There is no birth for the I, there is no death for the I. Temporarily, for 1 hour, I am born in this room. Right? I am born and live in this room. And then, after an hour's class, I leave this room and I am born somewhere else. Yes or no? So the moment I know this truth, where will there be grief? Only when I don't know this, there will be grief. So that's what he says. Natve vaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipaha nachaiva na bhavishyamaha. In the future. Bhavishya means future. There is no question of this I ceasing to be. This is an eternal phenomenon. The death of the body doesn't mean the death of the pure consciousness, the real I. Please understand this. The wise people understand this. Therefore, there is no grief. You don't understand it, therefore you are sitting and crying, suffering. Therefore he says, please understand, I is eternal. Whereas the body, mind, intellect is ephemeral. This difference you should know. I is eternal, body, mind, intellect is ephemeral. So I am not this body, mind, intellect, nor does this body, mind, intellect belong to me. This knowledge should come to you. You understand? This is the ultimate knowledge that the wise person has. Neither am I the body, mind, intellect, nor does this body, mind, intellect belong to me. I am that pure consciousness. So when anything happens to the body, mind, intellect, doesn't happen to me. Otherwise, as long as I am attached to the body, mind, intellect, anything happens to the body, mind, intellect, happens to me. Are you with me? So that's all he's trying to explain here. This is eternal, that is ephemeral. Please understand that nobody really dies because nobody is really born. You are not born when The body is born. You don't die when the body dies. This is wrong understanding. Unless and until that wrong understanding is removed, your suffering will not be removed. Unless and until you have removed that wrong understanding, you will continue to suffer because you are attached. In Tamil text, Thiruvalluvar says, Yadenin Yadenin Ningiyan Nodal Adanin Adanin Ila. From whatever you are detached, from that there is no suffering. And the detachment can come only through knowledge. Mental detachment we are talking about. You can continue living physically, but mentally you are detached. Then you don't suffer. So this secret they know. So let's conclude the class now. Let's do a small prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.